in chapter 6, we meet once more a character that we saw in line and on the bus. This was the intelligent-looking man who had talked to Lewis about the importance of trying to bring back a commodity to hell so that they could create some form of a community. The problem with hell is that you can just imagine things and they're there. But if we could bring something back to hell, which would be unique, which isn't something we could just create with our minds, that would allow for needs and that would allow for community. So here Ike is now in heaven, and he sees that there is a tree with golden apples. And he decides that this is just the kind of thing that needs to be taken back to hell and sold as a commodity. Well, there's a lot of comic action in the chapter as this ghostly figure is trying to negotiate these very solid sorts of obstacles like flowers and get at least one of these apples to take back with him to hell. Finally, there is, as he's grabbing the smallest of these apples and straining his whole effort, an angel speaks from the waterfall and tells him to put it down. There's no room in hell for such things, and that he should simply stay and have as many of these apples as he likes. Now, of course, one of the things that Lewis is illustrating through this character of Ike is the pathetic nature of greed. Here is somebody who, lured by these golden apples, lured by the opportunity of making a profit in hell, is undergoing enormous pain and enormous suffering, insofar as the spirit can do that, to try to get one of these apples. And what's being offered to him is so much greater and so much more fulfilling than what he's trying to achieve, that in fact, going back to hell with an apple, which is impossible, the apple, as it turns out, would be much bigger than something that he could manage to take, he still ends up back in hell, and he could have an abundance of these apples and more if he stayed. Now, there are a number of things I think that are going on in this chapter with these apples. I mean, on the first level, there is this message or point that Lewis is making about greed. But also these golden apples, this is a classical allusion that Lewis is making. There was a group of nymphs called the Hesperides, and they, in ancient Greek and Roman mythology, guarded a tree which provided these golden apples. And these golden apples would give immortality. They would give life to whoever ate of them. It's a kind of a pagan analog to the tree of life in the Garden of Eden. Lewis, of course, being a scholar of Renaissance literature, is very familiar with these golden apples. They occur in Shakespeare, they occur in Spenser, they occur in Milton. And part of, therefore, what's going on with these apples is this is a symbol of the life that heaven gives, an immortal life. And that's something that Ike, this ghost, can't quite get. It's something that he looks at, and for him, it's all a matter of profit. But these apples are meant to imply a immortality, a spiritual life, beyond the kind of mere appearance that they give in their goldenness. If you look at the end of The Magician's Nephew, there is an apple tree there. It's silver apples. And these are apples that have this magical power to cure and to give life to those who receive them. But they have this catch. You can take them for others. You can take them and give them to others. But they are not things that you can use for yourself. If you use them for yourself, it will give you life, but it will give you a life that is miserable, that is full of regret and remorse. So the character of Jadis, who later comes back as the White Witch, she's the one who takes these apples and eats of them. It gives her a life, but it drains her of her color. It gives her a permanent regret and remorse about the path that she's chosen. And plainly, one of the things that's going on here in this chapter is that Ike is trying to take these apples and use them in ways which they're not intended to be used. That the fruit that God gives has a certain ordination, has a certain way that it's meant to be received, or else it's not a blessing at all. If you also recall from Greek mythology, there's a legend about a golden apple that is inscribed to the fairest by the goddess of discord. She throws it among the gods, and they argue over who the apple belongs to. This is the goddess Hera, the goddess Athena, and the goddess Aphrodite. And this is what ends up famously leading to the judgment of Paris. They go to this prince of Troy named Paris, and they ask him, who does this apple belong to? And they offer him bribes. As you know from the Iliad, the bribe that Paris ends up accepting is having the love of the most beautiful woman in the world, Helen. And so he gives the apple to the fairest, to Aphrodite. The other two goddesses, Athena and Hera, are enemies with him forever after. In The Problem of Pain, Lewis will talk about what he calls the golden apple of selfhood, which causes discord when it's clung to. And he's alluding to this myth from Greek mythology that these apples, these blessings that God gives, are not things that you can hold on to, but rather they're things which have to be given in a generous way. They can't be clung to. So again, that this fellow tries to seek these apples for a selfish motive shows yet another problem. These are apples which are meant to be shared in abundance. And so there's another allusion being made here to clinging to one's own good, to one's selfishness, over the ability to allow things to be shared in by all, to be shared in generously. Well, in the next letter, Lewis will have his first really discouraging conversation. Up to this point, he's been listening in to other people talking, but now he has a dialogue with a ghost described as a hard-bitten ghost. And we start to see a little bit of Lewis's own spiritual vulnerabilities.